Now listen closely, because this isn't just about milk, it's about life. It's about how even the purest things, love, trust, peace, patience, can rot when mishandled. I've lived long enough to see it happen. I've seen good men fall. I've seen strong families break. I've seen opportunity turn into regret, not because the gift was flawed, but because it was taken for granted. Milk is pure, but leave it in the wrong place. Ignore it, mistreat it, and it sours. The same happens with your character, your relationships, your purpose. And the tragedy is, most people don't notice the change until they taste the bitterness, until it's too late. So today, I'm going to tell you what this is: the silent destroyer, the overlooked habit, the small thing that spoils the best in us. If you want to keep your life from turning sour, you need to know this. And you need to stop doing it. Neglect is a silent destroyer. It doesn't shout, it doesn't storm in. It creeps, slowly, quietly, and before you even notice, what once held great value begins to lose its worth. You see, everything precious in life, whether it's a relationship, a talent, a dream, or even your own health, requires care, presence, and effort. When something is ignored for too long, it starts to wither. Not because it wasn't good, not because it wasn't worth it, but because it was left unattended. Take a relationship, for example. In the beginning, there's warmth, excitement, connection, but stop putting in time. Stop listening, stop showing appreciation, and little by little, the connection fades. Love doesn't disappear overnight. It's chipped away by moments of neglect. The same goes for your own potential. A skill unused becomes rusty. A dream unpursued begins to collect dust, and eventually, the fire you once had turns to ash, not because you weren't capable, but because you didn't nurture it. Even the strongest structures crumble without maintenance. The most fertile soil becomes barren if not tended. Milk, when fresh, is nourishing, but leave it out, ignore it, and it turns sour, unfit to consume. That's exactly what happens to the valuable things in your life when you fail to care for them. Neglect is easy. It asks for nothing in the moment. It tempts you with comfort and delay, but the cost comes later, and it always comes heavier. You won't notice the loss right away. That's the trick. It fades so gradually, so silently, that by the time you do notice, you're staring at something that used to be beautiful, now spoiled. The worst part, it could have been saved. It just needed your attention. Giving is beautiful. It's an act of love, of service, of generosity. But when you give too much without drawing a line, without protecting your own energy, something starts to shift inside you. At first, you tell yourself you're doing the right thing. You're being kind, helpful, selfless. But over time, the imbalance begins to take its toll. You start to feel drained, unseen, unappreciated, and quietly, resentment begins to grow. You see, people will take what you give, not always out of malice, but because you've taught them that your yes has no end. That you'll always be there, always available, always pouring, no matter how empty you feel inside. And the moment you try to pull back, to breathe, to reclaim your space, they look at you as if you've changed. As if you're the problem. But the truth is, the problem started the day you gave without limit, without boundaries, without respecting your own needs. Overgiving isn't strength. It's not selflessness. Sometimes it's a quiet plea for approval. Sometimes it's a fear of rejection or a way to feel needed. But when you keep pouring from a cup that never gets refilled, you lose parts of yourself. And eventually, what you once gave out of love starts to feel like a burden. You don't say it out loud, but inside you're screaming. You want someone to notice. You want someone to give back, but they don't, because they're used to the version of you that never asked for anything in return. Healthy giving comes with boundaries. It says, I care for you, but I must also care for me. Without those boundaries, giving turns into sacrificing, and sacrifice without consent turns into silent suffering, and suffering, left unchecked, always hardens into resentment. There's a weight that comes with the things we don't say. The truth left unspoken doesn't simply disappear, it lingers, it festers. It grows roots in your mind, in your chest, until it changes the way you see the world, the people around you, and even yourself. What starts as silence often turns into distance, into tension, into a quiet bitterness that no one else sees, but you carry it every single day. Sometimes we stay silent out of fear, fear of conflict, fear of being misunderstood, fear of losing someone we care about. Other times, we convince ourselves it's not the right time, that we're protecting others, that we're being strong by swallowing our feelings, but strength isn't silence, strength is honesty delivered with care. When you keep the truth buried, it doesn't stay still, it transforms, and more often than not, it transforms into poison. That unspoken truth becomes the reason you start pulling away, the reason you stop smiling the same way, the reason your energy changes when a certain topic comes up. People might not notice it at first, but the energy doesn't lie. Silence has a language, and over time it speaks louder than words. It shows up in passive-aggressive remarks, in cold responses, in unexplained frustration. What could have been healed through conversation becomes a wound that stays open. And when you let it stay open long enough, it scars you. It alters your relationships, and more dangerously, it alters your inner peace. The truth is hard, but silence, when the truth is needed, is far more destructive. Because no matter how much you try to ignore it, pretend it doesn't matter, or push it down, the truth will always find its way to the surface. The longer it's buried, the more damage it does when it rises. We often don't realize the value of something until it begins to slip away. In the beginning, we're grateful, we're present, we're aware of how lucky we are to have what we do, whether it's a person, a job, a talent, or even our health. But over time, familiarity sets in, and with familiarity comes a dangerous kind of blindness. We stop noticing the small moments. We stop expressing gratitude. We assume what's here today will be here tomorrow. That's when decay begins. Taking things for granted doesn't happen all at once. It happens in subtle ways. You stop saying thank you. You stop putting in effort. You stop nurturing what once brought you joy. And slowly, that thing or person or opportunity begins to lose its light. Not because it changed, but because you stopped seeing it. People leave not because they weren't loved, but because they stopped feeling it. Dreams die not because they weren't worth chasing, but because they were placed on the shelf and forgotten. Talents fade not because we weren't gifted, but because we didn't keep sharpening the blade. Nothing, no matter how strong or beautiful, survives long-term neglect. Gratitude is more than words, it's action. It's the consistent effort to show that what you have matters to you. When you stop investing in something, it begins to fall apart. It's a law of life. Gardens don't bloom unless they're watered. Fire doesn't stay lit unless it's fed. Love doesn't last unless it's cared for. Decay is not sudden. It's quiet, patient, and persistent. It shows up when you're too comfortable, too distracted, or too entitled to realize what you're risking. And by the time the cracks become too big to ignore, the damage is often deeper than it appears on the surface. Potential is one of the most powerful forces a person can carry. It's the quiet knowledge that you're capable of more, that there's something inside you waiting to be built, expressed, or awakened. But potential, no matter how great, means nothing without action. And the longer you wait, the more that potential begins to fade. Not because you're no longer capable, but because opportunity doesn't sit around forever. We tell ourselves we'll start tomorrow, that we're not ready yet, that we need more time, more confidence, more clarity. But time moves with or without your permission, and every moment spent delaying is a moment stolen from what could have been. The path you don't take today becomes the regret you carry tomorrow. The book you don't write, the move you don't make, the conversation you avoid. Each one chips away at the future you once imagined. Delay has a way of disguising itself. It feels safe. It feels reasonable. But underneath that comfort is fear. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of not being good enough. And so we hesitate, we procrastinate, we wait for the perfect time that never comes. Meanwhile, the energy, the fire, the clarity we once had begins to dim. And eventually, The dream becomes a distant thought, something we look back on with quiet disappointment. Action is what turns potential into purpose. It doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to begin. Because momentum builds through movement, not through thinking. You can have all the talent in the world, all the ideas, all the chances. But without the courage to move, none of it matters. Potential left untouched becomes a burden. It becomes the silent reminder of what you could have done, if only you had started when it mattered most.